Hi everyone, and welcome back to Plan First Live. I'm Sean Larkin. Today we're going to be talking about choosing the right materials for your home. So what is important when choosing materials? One has to look at what is the material, what is the function of the material, how do you live, what is the budget, how much maintenance are you willing to do on the product, and how durable does it need to be. Next week, we'll look at the actual materials themselves. So we'll have a look at flooring, for instance. What are the different types of flooring materials that you can use? Which ones are durable? Which ones are cost effective? What you've got to look out for when you choose them. But firstly, we'll look at functionality and performance. So durability, as I said previously, how much time are you willing to spend on maintenance? On cleaning. So research the product before you actually make a decision on what you're going to be putting in. Office buildings, for instance, the central corridor that serves the offices might be better to have, or hotels, better to have that carpeted so that you don't hear people walking down the passage when you're busy trying to sleep or trying to do your work. We always start with the layout and the design, but have an idea or do a bit of research and see what style do you like. Go to showrooms, look at magazines, look at Pinterest. It is sometimes important to try and narrow down your material selection as early as possible. Even if you've got your general color palette that you're going to be using throughout, you could change the materials up and then have a look at the atmosphere that you want to create. In this image, we've got, the light wood, which makes it feel warm and cozy. But on the other hand, you can change the mood and the atmosphere very quickly by going for a more industrial look with the raw bricks and darker kitchen, steel, exposed light fixtures, etc. Is just to try and bring more natural elements in, plants, air purification, that sort of thing. And then life cycle. It doesn't mean to say if you are going to be using a cheaper product that is going to last as long as a more expensive product. So it might be, let's say, for instance, you choose a very cheap laminate floor, that will have to be replaced within 3 to 5 years. Whereas if you had to go for instance, a solid hardwood floor, yes, it'll be more expensive up front, but it's going to last 20 years or 30 years. So ultimately, even though the product is possibly a recycled product to start off with, it's not going to last as long, which means that the life cycle is shorter than the hardwood floor. Cost and budget. There's a couple of things to look at here. It's not just the initial cost of the product. You've got to look at the installation costs. So some products are more expensive to install. And you've also got to look at the longevity of the product. And then the long-term value. Durable materials will definitely save you money over time. So just keep that in mind, factor it in. I know there's a lot of things to think about when you start a project like this. But maybe draw up a checklist for yourself of just all the things that you need to think about and do them in sequence. None of them are cast in stone. You can always go back and revisit them later and tweak a little bit here and tweak a little bit there. But I think you should have an idea of what you want your end result to look like before you really start. That should all happen during the planning stage. So by the time you getting your council consent, you should know exactly what your materials are, who your suppliers are, and how much you're going to spend on your project. Very important, look at the context of where your project is, the climate that you're in, and choose your materials accordingly. Your local climate is important. So if you are building or renovating and your project is near the coast, you must understand that those elements really hammer the material. It's a very moisture-heavy area, so try and go for materials that can withstand it. A lot of manufactured products have got marine products specifically for use at the coast. So be mindful of that, because if the moisture does sit in that space, it does affect the product, and they won't last as long as they could if you extracted that moisture. It's a bit extreme, but the sun does definitely cause materials, most materials, not all of them, to fade over time. If you are in an area where you get a significant amount of really harsh sunlight, just be mindful and choose products that would actually last longer and maybe not fade as quickly. If you, let's say at the beginning of your project, you decide you want a specific style, and that style lends itself to stone. Stone is very heavy, and it needs to be carried by a very strong structure that can take the weight. So you can't support a heavy stone structure with a lightweight timber frame, for instance. So those things are important to keep in mind. Be realistic about your expectation. Use the professionals that work with it every day so that it doesn't cause problems down the line, because then you've got to retrofit and you've got to find a way to keep that stone in place. Replacement of services is a reality. If you do want a glass splashback like that, try not to put services behind that wall, or for instance, the plug points that are there, maybe just try and put them on the side where the cupboard is so that you can access it without disturbing that glass splashback. Flexibility, we speak about this a lot as well. The island in this case is on wheels, so you can move it out the way. Let's say you're having a large amount of people around and you need the space, you can move that to the side. So that is something that is becoming more important, because we are seeing rooms with multi-functions in them. At the end of the day, you still are renovating or designing for yourself. So it is first and foremost about you, your family. How do you live? Do you have small children? Do you have pets to accommodate? How robust do the materials need to be? Keep it scratch resistant. Again, if you are going to put in a carpet, take the time to go to the showroom, touch and feel the materials, the carpet, the fabric that you want to use. If you're going to be reupholstering furniture or buying new furniture, make sure to just take the time to go and investigate and feel what that fabric feels like before the time. Because a beautiful fabric or a beautiful carpet, it can look great, but it can cause a lot of frustrations within a very short period of time. Then lifestyle and usage. Have a look at your high traffic zones and low traffic zones. For instance, if you've got a central walkway or your entrance where people are coming in, especially if they're coming in from the outside, they might have wet shoes. You wouldn't want a carpet, for instance, bordering on the outside, because it's going to get dirty in no time. Try and put a tile or a laminate, maybe not so much hardwood, in those areas where there's high traffic. And then you can put your softer furnishings or finishes materials in the areas that don't get used as much for traffic. And then personal preference. At the end of the day, you've got to live there. You've got to be happy with it. Have a look at the way you live. How does your family live? And choose your materials according to that. Try and make the shell as neutral as possible. Try not to put too many trends that are going to be outdated quickly. Always go for your wish list first, and then you can always trim it back according to your budget after that. Make sure that everything fits and flows nicely, and then you can start layering with your materials and your finishes. Do materials look the same once installed as they do in samples? No, they don't. And there's two reasons for that. say, for instance, you are choosing a kitchen and you get a small little sample from the kitchen designer or from your designer, and it looks great. So you need to see a big sheet or piece of fabric so that you know exactly what it's going to look like. Same with bench tops. That's the first thing. Secondly, lighting makes a big difference. You need to take that sample and you need to put it in the space where it is going to be installed, because materials can look very different in direct sunlight as opposed to a darker space. So that brings me to the next item or topic, which we're going to have in 2 weeks' time, is mood boards. Put everything together in a mood board. Make sure that it's cohesive and it works well together. And then going forward, when you go and do your specific selections, take that mood board with you. Bold colors and bold patterns, if one does get more tired of them more quickly. So try and keep it as neutral as possible as an undertone and just layer it. It's all about layering at the end of the day. What's the biggest mistake people make when choosing materials? I think 2 things. The first thing is they don't actually go and feel and touch the material. In fact, 3 things. That is the one, make sure that the material, the cheaper materials are the less tactile friendly materials. So just go and actually feel the material in the showroom. Make sure you're happy with it. The second thing is take a sample of it that is big enough to put in the specific space you're going to use it. Have a look what the light looks like on it, and have a look in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, because the light during the day is not the same either. And then again, make sure that you put that material onto your mood board and carry that with you when selecting other materials. Next week's topic, we're going to just build on what we spoke about today and look at the specific materials. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.